hit you to save your life, he said. The examination isn't about virginity, it's an auction. The witnesses are buyers. Every woman who's gone through it gets sold after the first anniversary. I had to make you hate me enough to run. My hands shook as I stared at him, trying to process what he'd just said. An auction. Not a tradition, not an examination, but human trafficking dressed up in family honor. Marcus stood there in my best friend's doorway, his face gaunt, looking nothing like the man who'd proposed to me on the Brooklyn Bridge 14 months ago. I backed away from the door, my friend appearing behind me with her phone already in her hand. Marcus raised his palms, a gesture meant to calm me that only made my skin crawl more. He started gathering papers from his messenger bag, wedding contracts, vendor agreements, anything with my name and address. His hands trembled like his father's did during those Sunday dinners I'd loved so much, when the old man would pour wine and tell stories about the old country. My friend stepped between us, but Marcus kept talking, explaining how his family would track me through the wedding vendors if I didn't let him help. The florist had my credit card, the venue had my parents' address for the final invoice, the photographer had everyone's contact information. He spread the papers on the coffee table, highlighting my information with shaking fingers. I grabbed my phone to call the wedding venue, my fingers fumbling with the numbers. The manager's cheerful voice made me want to scream. I explained I needed to cancel immediately. Family emergency, while Marcus sorted through more documents. My friend watched him like a hawk, her law school training kicking in as she documented everything with her phone. The venue manager explained the cancellation penalty would be $8,000, due immediately, or they'd pursue legal action. My savings account had exactly $9,000, earmarked for first month's rent and security deposit on a new apartment after the honeymoon. I agreed to the penalty, my voice steady even as my future crumbled. Marcus's phone rang, his mother's ringtone, an Italian love song she'd danced to at our engagement party. He answered, turning away from us, his voice dropping to barely a whisper. I heard him breathe something that sounded like, "Please understand," before hanging up. His face had gone gray. My mother picked up on the third ring. I tried to explain, words tumbling out about Marcus's family, about trafficking, about the auction, but saying his family sells women out loud sounded insane, like some racist hysteria about Italians and organized crime. My mother's silence stretched until she finally asked if I'd been drinking. I hung up. My friend pulled me aside while Marcus continued sorting papers. She reminded me her bar exam was in 3 weeks, that the Castellanos funded her firm's scholarship program, that helping me could end her career before it started. I saw her loyalty wavering in real time, watched her calculate the cost of standing by me. She said she'd help today, but after that, I'd need to find somewhere else to stay. My phone buzzed with a text from my cousin asking if I could pick her up from school. Her mom was stuck at work again. Any other day, I would have said yes immediately. But through the window, I saw Mrs. Castellanos' black Mercedes idling across the street. The choice felt impossible. Help family who needed me now, or protect myself from the family I was supposed to join tomorrow. I chose my cousin. By the time I got back 2 hours later, Mrs. Castellano had already been to my church. My friend filled me in, how Marcus's mother had shown up for afternoon prayer group, tears streaming as she shared how her future daughter-in-law had broken her son's heart and disappeared. The congregation wrapped their arms around her, promised prayers for our family's healing. She'd established the narrative while I was gone. The next morning, I called every vendor. The photographer threatened to sue for his full fee. The caterer kept my deposit. The church required written notice that I couldn't provide without going there in person. Each conversation drained my bank account further. When I called my boss to explain I'd need a few days off, I blamed a family emergency. HR documented everything, just like they always did. I didn't realize I was supporting the Castellanos story about an unstable bride. Marcus showed up at the hospital where he worked, hyperventilating in the emergency room where everyone knew him as the sweet Castellano boy who brought cannoli for the nursing staff. They gave him oxygen and sympathy while texting about the poor guy whose fiancé had vanished. My own cousin started defending him after he'd helped with her science project last month. The betrayal stung worse than his slap. I needed our marriage license from the courthouse to prove we'd never actually married, but retrieving it meant creating an official record of my presence. The clerk at the marriage license office was Marcus's cousin Sophia. I'd met her at Easter dinner, watched her kids hunt for eggs in the Castellanos' backyard. Going there would be walking into a trap. I went anyway. The security camera caught me entering the courthouse records office at 11:47 a.m., my face clear in the footage. Sophia's expression when she saw me was almost sympathetic, like she knew exactly why I was there. She handed me the documents without a word, but I knew that footage would surface later, making me look obsessive, unstable, like a woman scorned. 3 days later, I spotted Maria at the pediatrician's office. Marcus's sister-in-law sat in the waiting room with her son, her face pale and drawn. Our eyes met across the room full of crying toddlers and exhausted mothers. She mouthed something that looked like help before looking away.